Craig Crawford, who is down in Orlando, Florida right now, and he is, of course, a political blogger at CraigCrawford.com and also the author of The Politics of Life. Craig, always a great pleasure to have you on. Now, let me ask you, what's your sense of it here as the country gets ready for the State of the Union by President Obama? Is he going to sound that populist, progressive bugle? I don't know if that's what you sound in a State of the Union, or is it going to be the usual moderate approach?
Well, even if he does, my friend, you know, they've always said about State of the Union addresses, it's like those foam rubber rocks on Star Trek. They look a lot more solid than they really are. And I can tell you what the anti-progressive side of the White House advisors are calling for is some language like Bill Clinton's re-election year State of the Union when he said the era of big government is over. They want to appeal to independent voters who fear big government under Barack Obama. Now, to give Clinton credit, in the very next sentence, he said people who are left behind should not be left to fend for themselves, but that part got lost.
Yeah, well, Craig, that goes to this endless debate apparently inside the White House between the progressives, however little of them there are, and the anti-progressives. And do we have any indication tomorrow night whether President Obama is going to make up his mind, or is he just going to, as always, play both sides of the fence, go, well, I'm very progressive, middle class rocks, populism is awesome, but on the other hand, I wouldn't mind cutting Social Security and Medicare?
Well, as we know, he talks left and talks right, and I think there'll be a lot of talking left. He could get away with a little more of it tonight because everybody knows the Republicans aren't going to pass any of it anyway. I mean, particularly in an election year. You could fill up his State of the Union address with lots of things from past State of the Union addresses that haven't even been voted on Capitol Hill. Just warm up the old leftovers.
Now, I hear you on that. That goes to our next question, which is, what can President Obama do with such little time left in his first term? Is it just ideas that he puts out there for his campaign, or can anything come out of this that actually is substantive? Can he propose something that he can actually get done by the time the election comes around?
No.
Okay, that's a clear answer.
So. I mean, Speaker Boehner's already given his review of the speech before he heard it. He called it pathetic. So I hope the president doesn't try to hand more olive branches to the Republicans. They're just going to swat them to the ground again. We know that. I actually think he ought to step into the presidential fray a bit and respond directly to some of this rhetoric against poor people in this campaign. I mean, this food stamp stuff. I mean, say something like, attacking people who need assistance to put food on the table is not a way to fix the economy. Just something like that. I think that'd be very provocative.
You know, Craig, it's another interesting point you brought up. And in the New Yorker, Ryan Lizza wrote an interesting piece about some memos inside the Obama administration. But what I found to be interesting about it, Craig, is that they talked about how President Obama believed that the whole right-left thing was a psychodrama from the 1960s and that he could help cure that partisanship problem by bringing people together and talking it out. Now, that seems like hopelessly naive looking back on it. We didn't have to look back on it. I said at the time, that's hopelessly naive. But it's not just naivete. I think that it's possible the president fundamentally misunderstands the problem, that he thinks that they have a real difference of ideas or ideology in Washington, when in reality what he's dealing with Republicans is a corporate machine. They are paid to represent corporate interests that have no interest in having an opinion or a dialogue or a give and take or concessions. He's trying to reason with a machine. Now, tell me, please, that at this late juncture, that he's, one, do you think I'm right? And two, do you think he's still making that mistake? That he thinks, okay, Republican machine, please listen to me. Here's my olive branch.
Well, you know, it reminds me of when George Bush said he looked into Putin's heart and figured he could deal with him, and then finally came to his senses and realized he couldn't. It's a very similar situation. I think the president didn't spend enough time in Washington understanding just how awful some of these people are. He played to the better nature of the angels, and I'll give him credit, though. Let's give him some credit, at least on the political strategy side. I do see an opportunity to portray himself to independent voters out there. Look, I tried. I really tried. And there's evidence for that. I mean, a lot of the evidence comes from progressives who are mad at him about it. But showing to them the Republicans are the ones who are keeping us from getting things done, I think that's a winning argument. It's one he can at least persuade a lot of independents that is the truth.
All right, Craig Crawford, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.